Hi, everyone. Welcome to Digital Experience. This is our iteration retro meeting. We'll go over the things that went well and some things to improve on for this past 2-week iteration. Today is Thursday, the 22nd of September. We have things that went well, and Javi's got the first one.
Muted. People are great. That's pretty much the easiest way to sum that up. I just feel like people in this iteration reminded me the value of like including others and just like being overall helpful and putting our heads together. I felt like it's really great that even after like our new restructuring, like it still feel like we can put our heads together. So that's always nice to hear.
Yeah, just to like +1 that for sure. And then also just a shout out to Carrie. Thank you so much for picking up where Tina and Jess just were out this week, and there was like 1,000,001 things that you're taking care of and following up on and just getting the engineers going so no one was blocked. So thank you so much for that. Oh, that's me again. And Mark, thank you so much for the team ups page. It looks so good. I know that was like super tight timelines and Tina delivered it really quickly. So shout out to her as well. But it looks so fantastic and we're so ahead of schedule. So hopefully we get content soon and we get it live really soon. So thank you so much. And then Mateo.
Yeah, on mine, I want to say big thanks to Nathan for helping me with the figuring out what the product team wanted on the solutions page. There was a couple of people from the product team contributing to the content that we needed, but they were mentioning features that were not on our features YAML, and we couldn't easily just add the features that they wanted. So yeah, big thanks to Nathan for helping me with that.
I wanted to say it's not super work related, but it was really, really cool going to the Latin X TMRG, which is renamed Jante. I don't know how to say this, but going to that and seeing Javi lead it, that was really cool. It's really awesome to see our own team contributing to the company and making it more inclusive. Very, very cool meeting that you hosted.
Thank you. We'd hosted something before that wasn't for Hispanic Heritage Month, maybe like a month and a half ago. And I think we were like 7 people. We're like, okay, cool. Like another one of those, that should be easy. And then logging in and seeing like 50 people. I don't remember how many exactly were in the call. So that was just like, whoa, that was a lot of folks. So that was great. And thanks for calling that out. Appreciate it.
I think I have the next one. I think. Yeah, sorry, I'm lost on the doc. Everyone's adding stuff. We released the sync script for features and categories. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Margaret and Tyler for helping with that. I know it's kind of behind the scenes, but it's going to have huge impact. And we're going to have finally a single source of truth for hopefully features. But yeah, thank you. Miracle, you're up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Tyler, Javi, and you, Nathan, because you guys helped me out with all of the launch darkly stuff, and that would have gone so much worse if I didn't have you guys' help. So thank you.
We can move on to some of the things to improve on. Javi's got the first point there.
Okay, this is like there's a lot of catch-alls for this, but I'll start off with just reading it, like having a Dex team email. We could use this to set up a host for the Zoom meetings, use a shared login for various tools that we use, create Dex open hours for people to collaborate and have Zoom meetings. I see lots of benefits if we just make that account. And then beneath that, I say, can we make an open meeting for people to discuss and collaborate together? We use that a lot. Or we use that concept of like an open room a lot, like when we're running through the Launch Darkly stuff. And I felt like we got a lot of benefit out of just having a place to like congregate, kind of like a plaza. I like to think of it as like a plaza for people to meet and like collaborate. So I thought that was cool.
I was just thinking if we did have like that Dex email, Laura, you can finally give up your your meeting power rights to that email, and then whenever we need it, we don't. Yeah.
And then Filza, you want to vocalize your point in the
Yeah, for the open, I don't like, I know it's like we use Zoom, but there is like a Slack huddle option. So at the bottom left on Slack, maybe water cooler is one because a lot of people are already in that, but I know that's not really like a work related one. But it is hard getting contractors into any new Slack channels that you create, because that's just a bit of a process. So just for expediency, maybe we could do like a Dex incidents channel and like just do a huddle on there. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, we could try doing it in the water cooler and see if that goes well. Since we don't have to do anything, we already have like everyone already in there. So that's something I'd be willing to try it. Yeah, Miracle, you got a sub point C in that point, if you want to vocalize that.
Oh, yeah. Just this iteration, there was like a lot of issues with people having access to things to actually finish out their issues. So if we could just make sure everyone has access to stuff before we assign them things, that would definitely speed things up.
Yeah, and like it would be great for everyone to have seats or like accounts for everything, but in the meantime, it would be awesome if we could like list somewhere in a handbook who has access to what. Because I know like for a while I was like, I don't know who has launch directly access, so I'm just gonna ping like 3 people and hope for the best.
Yeah, and if you don't have access, you
it's
can't
annoying.
even see the list of the access.
Yeah, exactly.
I got the next one. Incident process. Should we define something in our handbook or just keep winging it? We had a couple this iteration. First was the launch darkly incident, but that got resolved. And the second was the unable to scroll main navigation, which was an incident issue. Javi, I see you got a point under the first one.
Oh yeah, I mean, just with the creation of incident channels, like we can't add contractors that are assisting in that. So that's like another thing that was hard, was like Mateo was helping us, but we couldn't like have them in the channel. So that was just like an extra layer of like slowing us down.
Can we retire that channel? How does the team feel about that?
I feel like we could. It just feels weird because I still feel like we're using it, if that makes sense. For like launch darkly related like information. I don't know if we should just make another channel that's like a catch-all for that.
Should we be using our digital experience team channel so it's public?
I think that's clear. I like knew that channel existed, but didn't realize there was like I didn't like favorite it. There's so many Slack channels, right? So I just like stopped paying attention to it, and then someone's like, "Oh, there's these conversations happening here," and I didn't expect there to be. I think it's like we should, I think the best course of action is to minimize Slack channels as much as possible and like only add them if need be. And like, I don't know if our incidents are so urgent that they require like the Slack channel process that like the product team has for their incidents, right? Like I don't think they, generally speaking, I don't know if they impact like customers at the same level. I don't know if they have the same sort of like ramifications for the business. And we also don't have the same sort of like pager duty setup that like the site reliability engineers do, right? Like I think that going to like digital experience Slack channel where people expect to find us, and if someone is curious, they would expect to maybe see like a thread there, right? I think threads are probably as useful as we need them to be, and then like an associated issue for the thread, because like I think everyone's in that public channel. I think other people know if they're coming to see what's going on with our team because they know something is up and it's on us. I think they might start there. I think finding the thread is useful, and then of course having an issue is like the best way to keep it permanent because the Slack messages will get deleted after 90 days anyways. So if we do come up with a process, I'd like strong opinion, like new Slack channels shouldn't be a part of the process, right? Like threading, issue creation, and like ways to elevate visibility. Like maybe we like post we like make a thread in our channel, share it, right, to like the marketing channel, or to like a relevant one, that like a relevant channel that is sort of an umbrella for us as well. So like people who don't know that our team exists, right, but are like sort of like, oh, I think marketing, right? They're like, oh, that, like I do see this, right? Or even just what's happening at GitLab, something like that.
Yeah, I really like threads. Bilza, you got a couple points under A2.
Yeah, that was my bad. I created incident issue types. I just thought that was like the bug ticket version in GitLab. But yeah, Laura and Lauren, good points. You can't add an iteration and you can't wait it. So I will not use those for future like bugs that I'm trying to log.
I think of the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job, but yeah, just make sure that we're removing the same points that come in, just so we don't end up overloading. And then I guess if there's a prioritization question, go to Philza.
I think I have the next one. This is specifically about Launch Darkly. Just updating the handbook page, there was some discrepancies in the language that we're using, like control versus experiment and control versus variant. So just wondering if we wanted to hash that out while we're also doing all of this other Launch Darkly stuff.
Dennis, what do you use or what do you prefer?
Well, I just assume experiment meant it's like the name of the whole thing, but in the case of like if we're doing ABC testing, then maybe we do like variant A, variant B, control, right? Well, I don't know what you guys think,
Yeah, I personally like variant, but I'm not.
because the definition of variant means other, right?
Yeah.
Based on the pandemic, what I've learned about the word variant. Should we do a poll? I can just put up a poll and see if we can vote on it. Or if no one cares, we can just do variant.
I mean, you're the person who like it like funnels down to you, right? I think we should go with what is useful for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Dennis, we'll go along with it.
Great. Are we cool with variant? Any objection to that? Variant. Just did a hammer thing. Okay.
And then I think Mateo has the next point.
Yes, I was wondering, I picked up this issue that I linked here to create a new component and then A/B test it. But I was wondering how the test for this one would work, since there is no control component. The component is a new one to be added to the homepage. So how are we measuring the success of this new component if there is no control variant? The control would be the lack of component, as Nathan just mentioned. So yeah, it was.
I can answer that. What I'm thinking right now, and I need to run this by Dennis and Michael, but I think we're going to test out the homepage full carousel versus this featured content. Because the idea is then we can have 3 links on the homepage carousel and we can have 3 links on this featured content, and we can have the same 3 links, and then we can kind of see like which one is more effective in directing users one way or another. So that'll kind of help us gather some information to see which feature we would like to use. And then in the future, we can also try testing out like different types of content to be like, is it better to use the homepage carousel versus the featured content block? But the idea with all of these new features on the homepage is that it just provides us and provides marketing a lot more tools to be able to use, so we can keep the homepage fresh. So like as new things are being delivered, we might want to use the top banner, or we might want to use the carousel, or we might want to use a feature block. So it's like we're going to use them in different instances and like mix and match them. And there's a whole bunch of like testing that we could do down the line. But I think one of the initial ones we might want to do is the homepage carousel versus the featured blocks. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, yes.
Okay.
And I think I have the next one. This one is more of a personal opinion. I think having everything in the same place is easier to manage, at least for the A/B testing issues. Maybe creating a board to just display A/B testing issues with a tag instead of having a separate project, but yeah, just would like to hear your opinion on that.
No need to vocalize my point. I just made a separate project for like what a board for that could look like if we use like a tag label. If we use that, being able to have like a view to be able to track all of that. I feel like we should increase the clarity of what A/B tests are running at the page at a single point in time, because I don't feel like people think that's very clear.
I don't think we should have another board. I do agree with the label. And then I will link to our handbook page where I've created a table where we can list what tests are running, what the winner was for past tests. And that's.
I have a question. At what point do we move issues? Like say we have the A/B test and the A/B test project. At what point do we move issues for like the creation of the work into the buyer experience project? Versus like, yeah, I don't, Lauren, I think this might be in the process that you're like coming up with, so TBD.
I have so much to tell you. No, I'll share the epic that I did for the recent one. Which is in, oh gosh, I will link it later, but we have an epic, the A/B tests go in there. You have your govern issue, and that's the one that fills as a sign, and that is the issue that describes the A/B test, what we're doing, and it's in the A/B testing project. You then have the create issue, and that's where we're actually creating the code to run the A/B test. The release issue, where you're actually releasing it to production. You have the unreleased issue, or you're turning it off. And then Dennis has a manage issue where you're collecting the data. So there's many moving parts to a single A/B test. It's not just one issue, and we can't all capture it in one issue. I will find that epic right now.
Sorry, I didn't put my name down, but I'm interjecting. As a quick question, like for the test we just ran that had the register button in the nav, we want to let that kind of sit for 40 days before we like officially declare it the winner. Should that go in like the completed A/B tests on the handbook now, or should that happen after the 40-day soak, 40-day cleanse? Or we can put it in there now, and then if things change, take it out. But yeah, okay.
Sorry, I'm interjecting too. I was under the impression that once the test is done, that's when we update the handbook, because we're no longer like collecting user data and all that stuff. And then if things change, then we would update the handbook again.
I'd like to update the handbook once the test is, we don't have the Launch Darkly code running.
Is that 40-day like cooldown period though? Like, if we don't have the Launch Darkly code running, how are we considering it a part of like an extended 40-day? I guess like what do we expect to be happening within like the 40-day period after we like remove the Launch Darkly code?
I can answer this. So we're pushing data during the collection period to Google Analytics as well, right? So after the test is done, we don't really need that data anymore because it's already in Google Analytics. We have to wait 40 days post data collection period because we're waiting for the user to complete their 30-day trial and then another 10 days to decide if they want to buy the product or not. And so that's the 40-day window. And then after that, we can look at, okay, of this data set from that, 4 days that we ran, the control had this amount of ARR, the variant had this many, and then we compare the two metrics and see who wins that way.
Gotcha. Okay, so it is safe to remove the Launch Darkly code like at the beginning of that 40-day period, and that 40-day period is like a look back on the cohort that did get A/B tested, right? And then we're looking back on that, and then you declare a winner like with additional data afterwards. I was just worried that we were expecting to see launch darkly information there, but this is just like a cooldown before you like actually declare a winner, because you're waiting for the long tail of possible conversions after free trials and stuff.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
Exactly.
cool.
So
All right, that makes sense.
We don't need launch darkly after that data collection period, but we do need a way to flip it back if needed, right? If the control ends up winning, then revert back.
Okay, I think we're at item number 4, Lauren. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess just nesting issues up to our OKRs and grouping them into buckets of work. That enables us to easily see like all the work that's been contributed to a fiscal year's quarter. And I put a link there to our current one. So if it's contributing to our OKRs, link it to, you know, child or parent epic. Laura.
Yeah, I think some of my team anyway would have seen me adding Filza to all of the customer facing MRs that have come through for like a final sign off, just so she's able to communicate with all of our leaders for what's been changing and all of the stakeholders. But like, you know, we're just so efficient that we're like churning out MRs, and it's really not fair to ask Filza to look at all of them. I think that's going to be like a bit of a bottleneck. So I'm hoping we can have a bit of a better process for that since it's early days. Lauren just mentioned in my one-on-one half an hour ago a solution, a potential solution, so I can let her take that away, but it involves releasing stuff to prod, but ignoring it in the routes ignore, letting stakeholders do their thing, and then we make any changes and then, you know, remove it from the ignore file, something like that.
Yeah, I will work on the proposal so everyone can contribute, but the gist of it is we have, you know, we are the DevOps lifecycle company. So let's use that process in our planning. And kind of abstracting, like we're not just UX and engineers, everyone is part of all stages of it. So there's this whole planning stage where we're planning the page, what's going in, and they're working with stakeholders. And that's a whole bucket of work. And then there's the create stage where you're actually codifying it and you're putting it into the repo. And then there's the whole release stage, which right now we're creating and releasing everything into one, and it's getting a little muddy. And maybe separating that out. So we create an MR and it's just one single commit. It's turning the page on. And then our stakeholders are reviewing the MR and the coded template in a review app before it's released. And then monitor, which is data and analysis. It's all super rough. But I'll try to wrap that up by this week and share it out with everyone in our team channel. And we can yay or nay it. It's just an idea.
I think it's super cool. I guess what I'm nervous about is like what exactly needs to be seen by stakeholders before it goes out. Is it all new pages? Is it, I know the release post was a sensitive one. I know blog probably is. It just seems to be like spotty. So I don't know.
It is spotty. And that's, I think the challenge that I have too is like, I don't want to block the engineering process because I do want releases out. And like, there's a section of the site where it's like, we own it and we want to move quickly and we want to release stuff. But it's like the release post, a couple of the events pages, there was another one that happened earlier and I can't remember what it was. And so I know Justin had a good idea of like, when you do like AR approvals, like access request approvals, they have like a label that says like stakeholder or like your manager needs approval or whatever. So I kind of like that of like in the initial issue, maybe we put like a stakeholder approval required. But the only thing like for me that I'm hesitant about that is like, will that label transfer over through all the stages that Lauren just said? And also like that is the onus on the engineer to like check the issue to say like, this is required before you release it. I don't know. Happy to try things out and iterate on it. Ideally, I'm not reviewing all the MRs because that's just a blocker, and yeah. But I do also just don't want to release things with stakeholders that need approval beforehand, because this is, I think it's happened like 2 or 3 times now.
Is there a way in GitLab, either or bot or something, that if there's a label, I know you can't merge if it says draft, but can you set it up so you can't merge if there's a label specifically?
I don't think so. But you could switch the draft status.
We can think about it. Like, we don't need to solve this today and now, but yeah.
Miracle, do you want to bring us home?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm going to bring it back to access just for the last point. Megan suggested that we have like a page where we update who has access to Launch Darkly. Should we do that for Google Analytics too? Because I can see that also being a bottleneck. Cool, that was it.
Okay, I forgot to add one thing that went well. I just snuck it in at the top. I just want to say thank you to Miguel for handling all those VDeep errors. It was like 8 MRs, a bajillion changes, but it's so nice not seeing those warnings anymore. So thank you. Okay,
Does
looks
that
like we've got
change?
some.
Oh, sorry. Does that future-proof us from Vue 3? Like the new implementation, is that like Vue 3 approved kind of thing?
I'm not really sure about that.
Okay, no worries. I'm just curious. I don't know if we're ever gonna do it, but would hate to have to do it again.
Also, the change was also only in buyer experience, so we still need to remove a couple of them on sleepers. I will do the issue for that.
Cool. Okay. Any last thoughts before I hit the stop recording?
There's just a few action items, but there's no people assigned, so I don't think they're going to get acted on. So if there's something that you'd like to take forward, please add your name.
Okay. Okay, bye. Thank you for listening.